All right, doing a little special little video, I guess. Anyway, getting back to some teaching. The Playbook series didn't do what I thought it was gonna do, and that's fine. It'll live up there forever. There's a couple instructional videos I got that people still comment on today that are like some of my earliest ones. So it's up there if people want to learn. But want to jump into this before this Bears game tonight. Because even though I probably won't dive deep into the playbook series again, I do want to do kind of like one off. So we're going to look at one pass play that is in my playbook and kind of walk through how that's created, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. So I tend to play around with these colors, and I'll look at the video afterwards. Hopefully, it's not too bad and people can see it. So anyway, and this isn't always the scale because I have to make it bigger so that everyone can see it. So there's that. But anyway, so when we're talking about creating a pass play, one of the or one two of the things I guess I say all the time is that football is football. It's not going to change. Matter of fact, this is a good illustration of this. When people talk about college football and college offense, and they refer to bringing something from a college offense, a lot of times people think about spreading it out and all that because spread has been prevalent over the last decade and all that. That's true. But the biggest thing that I don't think people realize is that a lot of times those concepts are different from the NFL simply because the hashes and the numbers are spaced differently. And I recently had looked this up. I don't have the numbers on me, but this has a little tool where I could put the hash marks and everything at high school, college, pro, which are all a little different. And I ended up moving this to college because the spacing was off. Because in pro, it is very tight. The hash is a lot tighter. The numbers are a lot tighter. And so realizing that a lot of times that the concepts are different simply because the spacing is different. And you got to realize if you never saw this before, when you go hash to hash, so this is a college hash. So I can go here. If the ball's on hash, that's the furthest it can go on this side of the field. Look how much space that is. Same thing if I go to this hash, and then if I go from the middle of the field or anywhere in between. That really changes the spacing I'm working with. Whereas if I was to redo this, which I guess I can, why not? We're not doing nothing. So if I was to redo this box and make it pro, which it was not supposed to stop there. And again, for those that are new, this is some of the oldest software, not the oldest, but it's pretty old. All right, so if I make it new, look how different this is. These hashes are way tighter. These numbers are way tighter. So if I go from this hash to this hash, the amount of spacing is not as drastic as it would be if I was doing that with the colleges or the high school. So people got to realize the spacing is really what matters. And this is, again, how you know the scale is off because offensive line is not going to spread all the way across hash to hash. That's not. But I had to zoom in so you could see it. Anyway, so yeah. So now y'all got to bear with me because I'm gonna delete that again. Just because I want to work with the college hashes, which I think of the three are the widest, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, anyway, so we're back here. So I say all that to say because what I say a lot about football is football because you got a certain amount of space, sideline to sideline, end zone to end zone, hash to hash. You got a certain number of people on the field, and that's, that spacing is what it is. And so while there's a lot of different ways to get to stuff, you're still working within the same confines on whatever your level is. So in the pro, you know, those hashes and everything, they are what they are. Also, I always talk about when it comes to the run, you have a certain number of gaps that's not going to change. A gaps, B gaps, C gaps, D gaps. That's it. You got the alley, you got the force, certain amount of space on the field. When it comes to passes, we work off pass zones. Many I'm sure that you've heard of before. And again, I wish I had better illustration to kind of, highlight this and make it super cute, but I don't, so please follow along. And maybe I shouldn't make this green because my arrow is green, but either way, you got the deep zones, deep half, hash to sideline, deep thirds, sideline to hash, side or hash to hash, hash to sideline, or deep quarters, whatever. You got your deep zones. You got your hook zone, which is right over the line of scrimmage between the tackle boxes. You got your flats, which outside the tackle box behind the line of scrimmage. You got your curl zone, which can look different depending on what you call that. But yeah, and then you got the seams, which also play into that as well. And that's really it. I mean, you work within those zones. So for me, just like a run game, when I'm setting up a run play, I'm looking at to what gap am I trying to attack, or gaps if I'm doing something that's a little multiple. When I'm getting into a pass game, me personally, I like to think about what coverage or what areas of the field am I trying to attack. Like cover 2, cover 3, cover 1. Once you know all that, you know what areas are open. But even if you're not talking about a specific coverage, you could just talk about specifically what coverage zone am I looking to attack. And I work from that way, because once you build a play, you'll put that play in a category: cover 1 beater, cover 2 beater, cover 3 beater, man beater, whatever. And it can be multiple things, but that's kind of how you label that play. So I work backwards and say, okay, what area of the field am I trying to attack? So the play that I'm going to show you today, I'm trying to really attack this area of the field, which is the curl area. And I'm trying to attack the middle of the field. That's kind of the thought process with this play. And so going from there, I mean, you could look at it a couple different ways. For me, at least with this play, I probably would say, okay, I know what I want my primary read to be, and in the progression, and I'm sure other people probably work that way too. So for me, I want to take this tight end or this H-back, whatever, and this is off my specific offense, and I want to run him on this speed out into this area right here. Again, attacking the curl area. So that's kind of my first thought process. So once I know that, then I can start again to go through the progression. That's the first thing that I'm looking for. So what complements that route? Now, you got some half field concepts, you got some full field concepts. So if I had a concept with that route to a 3-man side, and then a 1-man side, I mean, really it's just a 1-man route. Or if you want to run a concept with the back, because you got 5 guys to utilize in the route if you want to. Versus, or if it's a 2x2, then I say, okay, I can run this concept here, I can run this concept here. So the advantage of having a half field concept is that I can mix and match those with a different concept. Run one thing on one side, another thing on the other side. Now, full field concept is where I'm going to run this together. So, for those that don't know, or those that do, you'll recognize. So, a smash, sorry, did that a little badly. A smash concept. You got a hitch, you got a flag or a corner, whatever you want to call it. That's one concept. And let's say I got a 2x2 working here. So I could call smash on both sides, or I could have a double slant concept, which is pretty easy. I think everybody understands that. All right, so I could have a play call, whether I got a name for it or whatever, where it's basically smash to the field side, to the left side, double slant to the other side. So with a half field concept, I could mix and match and do that. I could do all types of things. So that's the advantage that you get with that. Now, a full field concept is when I'm going to call something that gives the routes for the entire, field, for all sides of the ball. And while you can't mix and match with that, what you can do, the advantage to that is that you can complement those. Now, if you're doing half field concepts, you can complement them by what you call, but a full field concept, you're designing the routes to complement each other. And honestly, I think this is what people think of more so. When this is one of the things that I hate the most when I hear people talking about football. They didn't target this person enough. Why didn't you get this person the ball? First of all, it's the quarterback's job. Now, there are some offenses, spread offenses, where it is pretty much a one read type of system. And again, that's more of a full field concept type thing. But traditionally, and for me personally, I'm all about full progression or peer progression. I'm all about reading the progression and seeing what the coverage gives us, because we can think we know what the coverage is giving us, but we're not sure. So anyway, I want to get this tight end or H-back out into this area and basically a speed out. So since I know that, now I'm going to build off of that. So if he's going to end up here, the thing that I don't want is I don't want these two guys in his way. So their routes need to be somewhere else, and their routes need to be timed where they're not running into each other. So I've talked about before, again, I believe his name is Dub Maddox, something like that, Coach Maddox. This is his concept, not my concept, but it does fit. He talks about the speed deck or something like that. And basically it talks about what's your team speed, what's your guys' average speed to 5 yards, 10 yards, whatever. Now, that becomes important when you're creating stuff like this or when you're trying to run stuff. Because if I'm trying to run this play and I know I got two big receivers that are not super fast, and my tight end's just as fast as them, they can run into each other. So that changes what type of routes I want to do. Anyway, to avoid all that, I want this to be cleared out. And so we always hear about the clear out route. So number one, I like this honestly wherever we are. Field boundary doesn't matter to me because it's a horizontal play. I probably would run the 3-man side to the boundary, or sorry, to the field, so that he can run into space. But I like it either way. So for me, I'm going to want this cleared out. Now you could talk about landmarks, which is very important. Where do you want this to run? I'm going to just say about 9. We're going to run a post. Traditional post. That's a clear out route. We want to get this out. Now for me, clear out routes, a lot of people talk about you'll never throw that. I'm not saying that. I operate off, especially a full field concept, I operate off let's attack every area of the zone just in case we don't know what type of zone they're throwing at us. So again, I like to flood the zones flood the zones to some coaches probably means putting multiple people in the same zone. I like to attack each area of the field in a concept, me personally. So while this is a clear out, we're getting him and his defender out of the way. So, cover 3, cover 2, whatever. We want to push this defender out of the way so that we can open up that space. It is a clear out, but it could be thrown. All right, so number 2, what do I want to do with the second person? For me, with this clear out, my eyes are coming here. If this area is covered, typically, in general terms in zone, if one area is covered, another area isn't. So if I look and somebody's sitting right here, I got a defender sitting right here, then this route is not going to get into effect right away. So that's not going to be my second progression. My second progression is going to be to here because he's on the same side. So what do I want to give that complements what this receiver or what my primary target is doing? So for me, I'm a horizontal guy. I want to run this deep cross. I want to get this behind the linebacker depth, whatever that may be. I want to pull the linebackers, or if the linebackers are not backing up, then I want this to get behind them. Now this does two things. Linebackers have to be in conflict and the safety has to be in conflict. So if this is a single high safety and I got a post coming and I got this deep crosser, he's in conflict. Does the safety stay over the top and take away this post, or does he bite down here? Now if it's two safeties, then more than likely we got some type of Tampa 2. The middle backers are responsible for it. And then the post splits those two safeties. But we could talk about that pre-snap. So that is, again, kind of what now the second or the third thing I should say. To avoid the collision, again, timing and spacing, I'm going to delay this release slightly. So I'm going to check release, which means I'm not looking for him to fully pass pro. It's just going to be a quick check, almost a tap and go. And then I want him releasing. So on paper, it looks like, oh, they're crisscrossing, but in real life, they should be clearing this out. This receiver really, it's just a drawing, but really he should be getting vertical right now and then getting across. So they're clearing this entire space out. Now, if you got a defender that's doing his job and he's just sitting right here in the flat, or not in the flat, in the curl, then we either got a cloud defender or we got a cover 3 defender. Whichever one, that now I got options going the other way. So then the next, obviously, and he's lined up incorrectly. In my offense, he splits the numbers in the hash. So he's always close by, and for reasons just like this, because this is the way I like to run offense. So what then complements to the other side of this play? I got two guys running to the right side of the field. So what do I want to do with this? Do I want to run a vertical? Now I got two guys running right into them. I can run an out, 3 guys going to the same side, whatever. For me, I'm running a drag. Now you start to see what this is looking like. We got 2 guys going in opposite directions. And so, number 1, if it's man, that's taking his defender with him. If it's not man, that's pulling the eyes of the middle level defenders. And so, again, putting them in conflict. So you see the dual conflict here. If I got a single high safety, he's in conflict between this post and this deep over. If I got middle level defenders, 2 safeties back, they're in conflict with the deep over and the drag. And then my primary here is again where we're trying to get to. So, well, I can talk about that later. So that is now the conflict that we create. And again, you got your fifth person. So for me, I mean, honestly, this is just the way I lined it up, but I probably wouldn't line that back up here. I mean, I could, but it really doesn't matter. I'm going to check release here as well, because this is going to be a last post. Is probably the last in the progression, but this is definitely also a last resort, and that's going to be a flat check down. Now, this is going to be a true flat route, not a wheel route or anything like that. We want to keep it behind the line of scrimmage. This is not a tap and go. This is more of an actual delayed release. A, to give us more help, but B, if all else fails and things doesn't go right, this flat is being vacated. This guy is going all the way here to really the deep area, if not the curl area. He's going deep middle of the field, so there's nobody that should be here unless they're just standing there. And so that flat is the last second safety valve. All right, so that is the full play. So essentially, once this play starts, we're going to get a slight delay by the Y. That gives time for our receivers, whether they're fast or not, to get down the field. Once he delays and the slot is cleared, he can get off the ball, give him a little straight run, then break off to the outside, and now you're breaking, aiming at about 5 to 6 yards. Should be an easy pickup. Again, if you got good defenders that are just in that zone. So there is a text feature. I don't know if I want to do it. Can I highlight this? Whatever. We're just going to talk it through. So Y is my number one in the progression. So I get the snap. You're anticipating hopefully less than 2 seconds. He's starting to release, but even before he releases, the eye should be on that defender in that area. You know, depending on what the coverage is, that defender will change, but we're looking for that defender, most likely the corner. Depending on what he does, if he bails right away, okay, I know this is where I'm going. And then, especially if I got leverage on man coverage. But anyway, if that's not there, then my second read is going to be to the S. The S is coming across this middle. We want to hit this right here in between the hashes. So if somebody's sitting out here, whether it's the corner or not, now we work our eyes up to number 2 to see what these backers are doing. If these backers, so the ball's here, so this is 10 yards off. If the backers have drifted back to 10 yards off, or we got a safety 10 yards off, then we come to the third read, which is why we want this to come across the same way, because I want him to be in line with the quarterback's eyes for this progression. So that means my eyes come to 2. I don't see any, I see space. So now I'm coming here. This ideally is not supposed to hit right here or even over the center. This ideally should hit right where the tight end was, because by the time we get to the third progression, everybody's done moved. They're moving down the field with these routes. We dump it off here. If somebody's sitting on our tight end, we dump it off. They got open space to go. And then more than likely, if it's man coverage, would be the only time this happens, or some type of weird blitz. If our eyes get there, and let's just say we got a middle of the field safety planted perfectly, and we don't want to throw that post, we don't want to throw this either, and the linebackers all stepped up to this drag, then my eyes go from here to here, down to this check down, dump it off to the check down, which again, More than likely, it's either a man coverage or something, because if it's a zone coverage and the corner let that drag go and the linebackers picked it up, now that corner is either playing this crosser or he's playing this flat. More than likely, he might step up and play the flat, then you go to the crosser. But again, last second ditch effort is going to go to the flat right there. So again, progression goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So as I said before, you could throw this. You would throw this in two situations for the most part. Number one, if you got a pre-snap read where you're like, okay, that's going to be open. Like if we got, and this would be through tape. If we got through tape or through the game, maybe we saw this earlier. I mean, they might do something weird. They might like to blitz the safety. So they might like to blitz one safety and the other safety cheats over to the 3-man side, or the other safety doesn't get over fast enough, whatever it might be. Then you might throw this. Or it might be a zero coverage blitz where they blitz everybody, it's all man coverage. Okay, if you got a dude here and you like the matchup against the corner, then I would throw this. Just put it up there and let them have it. Number two is if you're going from 1 to 2 and you see everybody, you see a safety rolling up to this over, then you could throw that. So really it becomes kind of a 3 progression. I mean, I guess if you really want to call it, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But yeah. But essentially it's a clear out, but I think those are two cases that you probably would throw that. And so for me, when designing this, again, I'm attacking multiple levels of the field. So depending on the coverage, I can hit different things. But because the primary is about 5 to 6 yards, I'm calling this on a first and second down. A first and regular, a second and medium, even a second and regular, a second and medium, definitely a second and short. I love this. A third and short. I love this. So then situationally, you want to know when you might call this play too. So I think that's it. I talked for a long time, but if you got questions, you got thoughts, go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought. Share around, get the convo started. Thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you for listening.